This is one of those moments that makes you stop, stare at the screen, and seriously question whether anyone in WWE creative understands why Roman Reigns worked in the first place. Not in a fun, controversial way. Not in a let's see where this goes way. In a way that makes you feel like years of careful storytelling just got tossed aside for shock value. Roman Reigns is back on Raw, and instead of standing beside Paul Heyman, the architect of the greatest character arc of the modern era, he's aligned himself with Rikishi. And no matter how you try to justify it, spin it, or dress it up with tradition and legacy, this move feels fundamentally wrong. The return itself should have been electric. The show was already hot. Cody Rhodes was in the ring, addressing his future, soaking in the reactions of a crowd fully invested in his championship reign. Then the music hit. Roman Reigns' theme, but altered. Slower. Heavier. Samoan chants woven into it, immediately signaling that WWE wanted this moment to feel different. Roman walked out with presence, confidence, and the same aura he's cultivated for years. But the second the camera widened, everything felt off. No Paul Heyman. No familiar image of the tribal chief with his Wiseman lurking nervously behind him. Instead, there was Rikishi, dressed in full traditional attire, holding a staff, positioned like a ceremonial elder rather than a strategic advisor. The visual alone was enough to confuse the audience. Roman didn't waste time explaining. He spoke of betrayal. He spoke of loyalty. He framed Paul Heyman's alignment with Cody Rhodes as an unforgivable act, something that severed their bond completely. He said he no longer needed someone who played politics. He needed someone who understood blood, lineage, and the weight of family. Rikishi, he claimed, represented the old ways. The foundation. The true spirit of the Anoa'i legacy. With Rikishi at his side, Roman promised to reclaim everything he lost and remind the world why he is the greatest of all time. And that's where the problem begins, because none of it holds up under scrutiny. The reaction in the arena said everything WWE didn't want to hear. This wasn't nuclear heat. This wasn't shocked intrigue. It was confusion layered with discomfort. The boos weren't clean. The cheers weren't confident. Fans didn't know how they were supposed to feel, and that's never a good sign when you're reintroducing your biggest star. Paul Heyman wasn't just a manager. He was the structural backbone of Roman Reigns' entire presentation. He provided credibility, manipulation, and psychological warfare. He made Roman feel untouchable. Every promo felt calculated because Heyman framed Roman as a conqueror, not just a wrestler. When Heyman spoke, it wasn't noise, it was narrative. Removing him without an equal or superior replacement immediately weakens the character, and Rikishi is not that replacement. This isn't disrespect toward Rikishi. His career is secure. His legacy is intact. He was over. He was entertaining. He played his role perfectly in the era he thrived in. But that role was never about menace, intellect, or strategic dominance. Rikishi was fun. He was charismatic. He was comedic. Those traits directly clash with the tribal chief persona. Roman Reigns worked because everything around him reinforced seriousness, control, authority, precision. Rikishi introduces tonal whiplash that undermines all of that. The Bloodline saga succeeded because it was deliberate. Roman wasn't surrounded by nostalgia, he was surrounded by tools that enhanced his power. The Usos were enforcers bound by loyalty. Solo Sikoa was silent threat incarnate. Paul Heyman was the mastermind. Each piece existed to elevate Roman. Bringing in Rikishi doesn't elevate anything. It reframes Roman as someone who needs guidance, which is the opposite of what the character represents. And that contradiction is critical. Roman Reigns is the head of the table. He's the final authority. His entire arc revolved around elders acknowledging him, not advising him. Positioning Rikishi as a Wiseman implies Roman lacks direction on his own, and that single implication chips away at years of character development. The justification that this is about tradition is weak. Roman's strength was never about leaning backward into legacy, it was about redefining it. He wasn't honoring the past, he was surpassing it. WWE now seems to be confusing cultural symbolism with storytelling depth, and that's a dangerous shortcut. Dressing Rikishi in ceremonial attire and framing him as a tribal elder doesn't add nuance. It reduces Roman's complexity into a visual stereotype. Then there's the practical issue. Rikishi is nearly 60. This isn't a sustainable on-screen role. He cannot wrestle regularly. He cannot take bumps. He cannot physically contribute in a way that modern storylines demand. That means his role must rely on promos, and promo work was never his strength. In contrast, Paul Heyman is still elite on the microphone, still sharp, still capable of carrying entire segments alone. Replacing him with someone objectively weaker in the exact area Roman benefits from most is baffling. The timing also raises red flags. Reports suggest this wasn't the original plan. Paul Heyman was expected to reunite with Roman eventually. Availability issues appear to have forced WWE's hand, and instead of adjusting the timeline or writing around the problem, they pivoted into a nostalgia-driven solution. That's not storytelling. That's damage control disguised as creativity. This move also accelerates a babyface transition that Roman hasn't earned. Aligning him with a beloved legend softens him instantly. But Roman hasn't reckoned with his past. He hasn't paid for his manipulation. He hasn't shown remorse. A proper turn requires struggle, loss, and accountability. This skips all of that in favor of cheap approval. It also muddies future feuds. Roman versus Solo Sikoa? Interesting. Roman reclaiming power from the new bloodline? Compelling on paper. But Rikishi's presence actively weakens the conflict. No one wants to see him involved physically, and verbally he adds little tension. Meanwhile, Roman's unresolved rivalry with Cody Rhodes suffers even more. Cody thrives against psychological opponents. Heyman could play that chess match. Rikishi cannot. What makes this worse is that WWE had better options. Younger family members. Fresh faces. New archetypes. Even an original advisor character would have been more effective. Instead, WWE chose familiarity over function. This doesn't feel bold. It feels reactive. It feels like a decision made to trend online, not to sustain a narrative. Roman Reigns is too important to be used as an experiment in nostalgia booking. His character didn't need reinvention, it needed continuation. If this is a swerve, then it's a risky one. Weeks or months of weakened presentation just to reach a reveal is not smart storytelling. Audiences shouldn't be asked to endure confusion in the hope that it eventually makes sense. Strong stories work at every stage. Right now, this doesn't. Roman Reigns returned, but instead of strengthening his legacy, WWE may have cracked it. Whether this becomes a rare misstep or a defining mistake depends entirely on what comes next. But as it stands, this pairing undermines one of the most carefully constructed characters WWE has ever produced. And that's not outrage for the sake of outrage. That's a hard assessment based on what made Roman Reigns special in the first place.